Hi everyone, it's Santiago from Artineering, finally here again. And I've been writing a lot of tutorials, like formal tutorials for Henriette to teach you guys in the future. But today I thought about doing things a bit differently and make an informal tutorial of me basically just stylizing a scene from scratch. So I found this amazing scene here, House on a Lake, by Bogdan Streletsky. I hope I didn't butcher your name, sorry about that. And this is the scene here in Flair. But we're not going to start from here, we're going to start from scratch. So let's get to it. I'm going to start a new scene here, and I'm going to import the model that I downloaded. It's called House on Lake, and here I have the House Lake FBX. So once I click here on import, we're going to see that the model is importing. Because the scene has completely different dimensions, we're being prompted this to modify basically the near and far clipping plane. Just gonna click yes for now. And the scene is actually there. Let me just go and quickly put a plane. The scene is there, but our camera, the near clip plane and far clip plane, are not configured by the massive dimensions of this. So let me put this to 10,000. And then I have the scene here, but you will notice that it basically no object has any material to it, which makes it a bit cumbersome to work with. Also, you will notice here, like, we have different materials for the same object. This you can entirely do in Flair. The way I would go about this is, let's open up the UV editor, and you will see that we have a bunch of UVs here. The way I would approach it is, for example, this is the lake. I would go here. You see the faces are here. If I grow the selection here, the whole selection grows, which is not what I want. I would need to basically select this UV shell, then convert this to faces. And then once it's converted to faces, I can open my material presets, and then I choose a texture to create a new material. Every time you're assigning objects to components, you would need to create a new material. You load it, add a file to it, and then go here, search for the file, which in this case it's water, and then apply it there. Now, we would need to do this everywhere in the scene, unless someone has already prepared these for us, like earlier on during the pipeline. But thankfully, Sketchfab offers different options of importing things, which will make our life a bit easier, especially considering that the FBX doesn't really have any material assignment at all. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new scene. I'm going to go here to File, Import, and then I'm going to import the USD file, usdz. Now I have it here. We have the scene. Of course, we do have the problem that the colors, the textures cannot be found, and they are USD preview surface materials. So in order to easily find the textures, we can go to the toolbox and we can go to Relink Textures. Once we're here, we go to the folder where the texture should be. We click on Select, and then Flair will automatically find and apply the different textures to it. I'm going to quickly switch to a plain style, do not have any stylization on top. And this is basically it if you wanted to use USD preview materials, but we can't do much with them. So let's convert these to Flair materials. To convert any type of material to Flair material, you also use the Flair toolbox, and here you can automatically convert materials to Flair. So it prompts me, do you want to convert all materials? I say yes, and then we'll have all materials as Flair, but you will start seeing some weird things happening here. Now, before I continue, in case you are following along and this is not working for you, I made a small adjustment here to support that. If you go into Flair, Maya, and Scripts and add these 5 lines under the conversion table, the tool will work for you. So just add this in, close Maya, reopen it so that the script is refreshed, and then try it again and it will work. This is going to be standard in the next versions of Flair. So if this just works, don't worry about it. All right, so we have a few things here, and that is we have these kind of trees that look black for some reason. And the reason for that is in the original setup, this is pretty interestingly made that the leaves in itself, they're only showing the back faces, not the front faces. And this is something that wouldn't have been possible in earlier versions of Flair, but starting version 1.1.2, we have some handy option here to modify the culling. So we can go here and say, you know what, I only want to call the back faces, and then we start having this exact result. So I'm just gonna do this for all the trees. Now, apart from that, I am going to create an ambient light. This is going to be set to 1. I'm just going to put it here in the middle of the scene. And why ambient light? Because this scene is very graphic. It's almost like a storybook, and there's not really a lot of shading to it. Most of the shading is embedded onto the textures. So now I enable lighting here, and now we start seeing something that pretty much resembles what we had here. Of course, we can also remove the specularity, like let's say this is not an ambient light, but a directional light. You're still gonna have all the specularity here. The easiest way to do that, instead of selecting each individual material, is to use the bulk attribute tool. So I can open it. I just select all the objects in the scene, and then I untoggle specularity here. And if I do that, it's toggled on all the objects in the scene, and I'm good to go. So where's my light? My light is super tiny because the scene is huge. So let me just make this to 100. There we go, there's a light. So now we have lighting to it, but you will notice because of these back faces, the lighting is looking kind of odd here. So let's stick to the ambient light. Just gonna go to attribute editor, change these to ambient light, and then we have more what the artist intended. Now this is okay, but we can use Flair to stylize this further. So one way we can do this is, for example, let's add some lines to it. We can go to style, and then we apply some lines. And you will notice that because the textures have a lot of grain in them, you also get these dotted lines, like dots along it, which we do not really want. So we can go here to the globals, go to the advanced controls, and then modify the color edge threshold to remove the influence of color onto the line recognition, so to speak. And we're going to do the same thing with the flow, because we're getting some normals there where we shouldn't have, or lines along normals that we shouldn't have, just like this. So this is looking much better now. But then you will notice that also on the leaves, we also get this clipping here. So this is a normal that is basically, or a normal difference, because the leaf is going like that and then the ground is going like this. So there's a clear, sharp definition of an edge there, which we don't really want. So we can go here and, for example, do inline painting. That's an option. So I could go here and go to NoiseFX, for example, and then the inline painting, just remove this. Actually, no, this won't work because I would need to do this also on the ground. So I can go and remove that. So that way we do not have any inline painting, but this might be unnecessary. We can also do this with the thresholds. So we can go here, and again under advanced, we go to flow and we just move it until it's kind of gone. Not too much, otherwise we start losing some lines in the background. So actually I will leave this at the default value, and let's work here. Oh no, not default value, otherwise I'm starting to get lines here. I am going to increase this until here, and then I will do the inline painting here, just remove it. All right, so one more thing that I want to do is I want to subdivide all of these trees because they're a bit too polygonal for my taste. So I could try to select all of them and then hit 3 on the keyboard, but I could also right-click on the material and select objects assigned to the material, and then click 3 instead. I can do the same for each of these materials, and that speeds up my workflow considerably. Now, something that you might also notice is that the smoke here is looking kind of odd. So let's go here to the properties, and the smoke is transparent. And this is what is causing these issues a little bit. So first of all, we don't need a transparency map. I would treat it all like a transparent thing. So I'm gonna break the connection here. I'm gonna increase the transparency. And then because I do not really want the lines here, I could either art direct that or go to blend AOVs. What blend AOVs is gonna do is literally going to start blending effects or depth and normals and all of this data that should normally be blended, but in stylized rendering we get to trick things. So we can go here and reduce this completely. All right, something else that I would like is for here to have a bit of wobble, like to have this more of a smokiness to it. So let's add that as well. I'm going to add a simple wobble here, and I'm going to go into the globals and also add some wobble to them. Once I add wobble to them, I can enable wobble blur here. And with that, you start seeing that we have some nice kind of like fall off. We can, of course, go here, select this again, and then say the wobble amplitude for that material is going to be a lot bigger. And now we get this very nice kind of like pattern here. We can also increase the frequency in case we want to have something more abstract happening, basically. So I'm going to reduce the frequency a bit, actually a bit more, something like that. We can also subdivide this so that we have more geometry to do this. And because Wobble also kind of like makes things more transparent because it's diffuminating things, I go here to the material and I reduce the transparency so that we have a more defined smoke. So that's kind of cool. Another thing that I want to do is I want to have a little bit of a depth of field to it and some ambient occlusion. Let's start with the ambient occlusion. I go to the globals. Here I have style-specific ambient occlusions, but you will notice that we're getting some weird kind of like, I'm not sure if these are artifacts or whatnot. And the reason because of this is the scene is massive, right? And the camera where we're looking at has a near and far clip plane to kind of accommodate it. And in case you start getting artifacts from ambient occlusion or any kind of like depth-based effect, remember to adjust the near and far clipping plane accordingly to the scene. That way you will be able to have this depth distributed along the near and far clipping plane, and the resolution, that basically the amount of information that we are storing in an image's depth is better distributed within a shorter distance, because otherwise we might lose some precision. So let's do that, and let's decrease this. This is a bit too strong. Let's have it like that. And now I want to add some geometry blur. Geometry blur is what enables us to give a little bit of a stylized depth of field. So let's get to this. So once I enable geometry blur, you start seeing that some parts are starting to like wobble, some not, which is kind of odd. And the way this works is rather similar to the line width based on different depths, but with wobble. You could consider that. So the way this works is also based on depth. If I click on this character, I see that it's at 300 Maya units. Now, before I set up with Maya units, you should set up the proper camera. Because once you start changing the focal lengths, you're gonna have completely different distances to the camera. So I'm just gonna create a camera here. It's gonna be my shot cam. And one little trick that I like to use is I tend to go rather high with the focal length. And this is so that the whole image looks a bit flatter. It looks more like an illustration than not. You will notice that on this new camera, I start having some weird artifacts here, and this was exactly what I was talking about with the near and far clip plane. So let's set this up. Let's add one more zero here. And now we don't have that artifact anymore. So I do recommend to work rather in smaller world scales, not in bigger world scales. I understand that bigger world scales are good for simulation purposes, but anyways, your simulation should be baked and brought into the scene, and that way you can scale everything down, because the Maya viewport is not really made to work with big scenes. Like if you have a spotlight and then you see through it, then you'll find yourself often having to change the near and far clip plane simply because the scene is massive. So just as a little tip, try to work, if possible, in smaller scales. So now we're here and we can see that the character is at 520 Maya units. So this kind of works very well because at 5 times 100, so at 500 Maya units, we have a sharp image, like no geo-blurring at all. We can put this to 4, for example, just to have it a bit more there. And then here you can define different patterns, how you want to distort this geometry. In case you want something more abstract, I recommend going with icosahedron. And once you have there, you can add a little bit of GeoBlur randomize so that you cannot really see a pattern anymore. So one more thing that I would do here is I would like to reduce a little bit the line width because it was a bit too big. Let's get rid of this, have more screen real estate. So now we're starting to get somewhere. I'm starting to like this. What else can we do? Now, for example, if I'm happy with this, which I'm not, there's still some ambient occlusion here that I would like to reduce. I'm going to go here to the radius and reduce it. So the bigger you go, the more neighboring elements it's gonna affect. No, 0.2 is too far. Let's put 1.7. Yes, that way I don't have any darkening here, which, well, I still have it here. So, all right, 1.5 is a good enough value for this scene here. So we have this here. If I'm happy with this and I don't want to lose the stylization that I've made, we can always export this. I'm going to export this in this folder here, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, version 1. So once I have exported this, I can make all sorts of changes, and I can always revert to this state as well. Something that I wanted to play around a bit is also adding some kind of wobble to the foliage here. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to open the bulk attribute tool with all 3 materials selected. And I'm going to go here and enable wobble. I'm going to do some simple wobble. So now we start seeing some kind of distortion here. But then I'm also going to go here and increase the frequency and increase the amplitude so that we get something way more abstract. And that way we can have some very nice kind of like, you know, foliage, more foliage looking. Of course, we still have all the lines which kind of look odd. So we can reduce the line, or for example, take the coloration out. The easiest way to do this is with NoiseFX. I can go here and reduce the line width. And you start seeing some nice kind of like, yeah, foliage to it. I'm gonna also reduce the line width on these pieces of grass. So I'm gonna go here and increase the line width. So I'm shifting the line width towards something thinner than it originally was. So now we start having a much more interesting look to it, in my opinion. Of course, you can do this in any way you want, right? Let me just select also here. In here, I'm going to reduce the inline painting because I'm starting to see some lines here that I don't really want to have, right? I want this to be really flat. So I go here for the inline painting and reduce this. So now I have a completely different kind of feel to this entire scene, which I kind of like as well. So it's really up to you how you want to stylize this. We can add sketch lines, you can add completely different effects, that whatever makes you happy and whatever fulfills your vision as an artist. So I hope you like this short, I don't know if it's short, I need to check the time, but this informal tutorial. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you would like to see more of this, of me just playing around and yeah, creating some stylized stuff. All right, guys, see ya.